Yeah, this is your homegirl, Arabia Barbosa, number 4, Western County, New York. We are in the motherfucking house. We're in the motherfucking house. We're going to talk about the penitentiary style. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the penitentiary style. Because the penitentiary style is what rules America. It rules the whole world. The penitentiary style. It is what it is. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to my YouTube creators, my subscribers, my support team, my moderators, the people that write in my chat section and my comment section. And those that are not here, I welcome you to this channel. I welcome you to my page. I welcome you to my platform. I am your host, Arabia Barbosa, 914 Western County, New York. I am your host. I am everything I said I was. The BT 1000, Lucy the Vampire, Jeeper Creeper on this shit, and the German Shepherd in the room. I am Arabia Barbosa, 914 Western County. Yeah, we're going to talk about the penitentiary mindset. And that's what we do. That's what I do. I don't know what anyone else does. That's what I do in my everyday life. When I get up in the morning and I go to a job or not, I'm still in penitentiary mode. I still got the penitentiary inside of me. I was raised by the penitentiary, raised by them. From the time I was 21 years old, 21, all the way until I was what, 28, I slept in the belly of the beast. When that, when I did what I did to another inmate and another correctional officer, they had me on the lockup unit, SMU, the SHU program. That's what it is. And during that time I was there, remember, I had to hear all the screams all night, all the crying all day. When they came to my flat, they always put the food in the flat. They didn't have to open that window until they wanted me to go into the shower area, or they wanted me to go onto the rec area, or they wanted me to visit with the doctor or dentist. Or shout out to the chat. It is what it is. Shout out to the chat. It is what it is. I'm talking about my penitentiary mode, my penitentiary attitude. And that's how I deal with the rest of the world. And what happened a few years ago, not on this app, but in my real life, what happened? I had to go back in the penitentiary mode. Nothing is gone from that. Nothing is gone. Trust me. I was in certain cells for years, years, 3 years and 9 months, almost 4 years on an SMU unit, a SHU program unit, a lockup cell. Oh yes, they moved me around. They moved me to the camera cell. They moved me to another cell close by the door. They moved me all over in that unit. Montague. I was at Correctional, Leith Correctional for women, right there in Greenwood, South Carolina. Because I committed my crime. When I committed my crime, I was in South Carolina. A shout out to the chat. And I'm not ashamed to say I was there. I'm not ashamed to say I was there. But certain female YouTube creators that's here on YouTube, and especially in this sector, you remind me of a lot of the women I was locked up with. So that suggests to me that we are all a part of the matrix. And the matrix is another prison. We are all living in the belly of the beast, whether you know it or not. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. It is what it is. I am Arabia Barbosa, 914 Westchester County, New York. I know which family I came from. My adoption was to erase my family lineage. They were trying to erase it. They were trying to erase my whole bloodline. They were trying to sponge it away. But don't you know that great grandma Barbosa sits with me? Everywhere I go, she goes. When I'm sitting here in the apartment and dark alone, she comes. She comes in the dark. She comes in the shadow. She comes in my dreams. She comes physically in the daylight with me. I'm getting ready to go today and do something I don't want to do. And you know what? She's floating with me. Great grandma Barbosa was a Mohawk Indian. She married great grandpa Barbosa. And where did he come from? He came from the Cape Verdean Islands. That's in Northwest Africa. 10 little islands in Northwest Africa. Shout out to the chat. And they didn't want me to see what I saw. As I got older, as I became older, something happened in 2011, and I was in a grieving state. But at the same time, I took my black ass to the libraries. I took myself everywhere where I could get all the knowledge I wanted to know about the in between, about the belief systems that Black Americans and Native Americans were punished for doing. There is a religion called the Long House religion. My great grandma Barbosa was a part of it. She had my grandmother and she had my grandmother's son. My grandmother is the sibling, she is the sister of Dr. Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence, he was raised in this country. He was raised under his mother's guidance. He left from this country and went to Africa. He practiced his religious beliefs, his belief system in Africa. He went to Ethiopia. He went to Egypt. And when he came back to the United States to visit with his siblings, all of them was afraid of him. Why? Because he decided to tap in to what his mother actually believed. Great grandma Barbosa is more bigger than I ever thought. That straw hat that I see every day as an Ethiopian, not so much an Ethiopian, but an Egyptian ancient thing they used to wear to protect themselves from the hot sun. When I see this woman, she has the straw hat. It's a large brim straw hat. It is the brown cloak of another religious order. Shout out to the chat. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Look at my community wall. We will see the numbers. We will see everything. It matches up to who she is. My grandmother told me, she said, Arabia, I don't know who you talking to. That woman you talking to, the woman that been flowing all over the world with you, going here and there, that is not my mother. My mother died in 1949. My mother died at the age of 52. Look at the numbers. 1949, 52 years old, heart attack. Same thing what happened to Aunt Ernestine, because Aunt Ernestine started tapping into certain stuff. And guess what happened? When they found Aunt Ernestine was in her bed. She was in her apartment. She had already paid all the bills to that apartment. She already paid it 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance. That's what she did because she knew she was dying. And she tried to prepare me for her death because she know I don't take death very well. I don't. Never did. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. It is what it is. Number 4, Westchester County, New York. We are in the house. And I'm talking about my great-grandma, Barbosa. I see her every day. I talk to her every day. She never leaves me. A couple of years ago, I was attacked right here in North Charleston, South Carolina. When I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't recognize my own face. I had to keep getting ice to take down the swelling. But my eyes were bloodshot for a while. And then one day, me and Birdman, we went to the church. This is when I was homeless. We went to that church. And I took off the sunglasses because the memory came back. Something came back. And I took him by his hand. I said, we're going to leave. We're going to leave. They don't want us to leave. The gatekeepers don't want us to leave. But we are leaving. And I pushed him in front of me. And I told him, go down them stairs. Don't worry about what I'm going to do. And I had to confront all the people that had hurt me that particular night. It was around Aretha Franklin funeral services. It was on the TV. It was everywhere. That was the same night I was attacked by these different dudes. People I didn't even know. Shout out to the chat. I didn't know these people. But these people were trying to kill me that night. They were unsuccessful. I'm still here. I'm still here. They trying to kill off the bloodline of great-grandma Barbosa. She sat with me in that hospital. Every time I go somewhere, she goes with me. She talks to me in her own voice. In her own voice. And you know what my grandmother told me? She said, no, that is not my mother. I don't know who you're talking to, but it is not her. That is not my mother. My mother died in 1949. She was 52 years old. I don't care. But the person that is showing up, I did my research. And that is great-grandma Barbosa. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. It is. It's a reality. People want to tell you to be afraid of the true belief systems of Black people in this country. Not only Black people, but Native Americans. We're all part of one family. We all come from one tree. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. It is what it is. And nobody can contest me what I'm saying. Nobody. Go and look at my community wall. The community wall will tell you everything, what I think and what I believe. And certain songs bring me back into certain areas of my life that was not great, that was not wonderful. But I had to live through it. And you know why I'm living this long? Is because of my great grandmother, Barbosa. Shout out to you, Bertha Epps, rest in peace. She was an Epps before she became Barbosa. Her son, which is Uncle Lawrence, he had blue eyes. And before I went to visit with my family in 2003, I was 30 years old. But before I went there, for 3 nights, I dreamed about this man. He always showed himself wearing the battlefield helmet of the pharaohs. He had eyes that looked like the sky without clouds. And I kept asking him who he was. And when I went to my grandmother's house in 2003, I saw him in those photos. And I pointed at him. I told my biological mother, I said, Mommy, look, that's the man that been visiting me for 3. She said, Arabia, that is your Uncle Lawrence. He was a witch doctor. A witch doctor. That's what they called them. Witch doctors. I wish he was alive now. Wish he was alive now to come into this apartment, sit his cloak on my couch, and the cloak floats by itself. That's what used to happen to my grandmother and her siblings. All of them were female. He was the only male child from great grandma Barbosa. Anytime he visited them, they were always afraid. They were always afraid. You know why they was afraid? Because the Christian church told them to be afraid of other religions or other belief systems that are not us. I don't claim Christianity. I never liked Christianity. I never liked Islam. Never. I believe what the belief systems taught us. I don't have no floating black cloak. But trust me, anything that touches my skin, my blood, whatever, it will resonate. When the woman that died, that raised me, when she died, don't you know she had moved from the master bedroom and moved into the room I lived in for years? Why was she in that room? She was trying to get close to me, spiritually, physically. When 2011 happened, I was at that house to do the wake and funeral service. That's what I did. Every time I went in that house, the woman followed me everywhere. When she was awake, she followed me everywhere. But when I went to my brother's studio and sat in there while he was cutting hair with these other people, she did not want to go in there. She didn't want to go in there. Not saying she was afraid she could enter in anytime she wanted, but it was something about that certain part of the space of her estate that she did not want to go into. A shout out to the chat. But you lived in my bedroom while you was dying. Same bedroom. Because the other sisters had a bigger bedroom. My bedroom was much smaller. And what I used to do every Friday, clean the walls, clean the ceiling, clean the carpet, wipe down the furniture that was there, clean the club. I used to keep everything like it was a hospital. The only mistake I made was doing a self-mutilation. Self-mutilation. Because I've been a self-mutilator since 17 years old. 17 years old, all the way into now. All the way into now. Even now, when I practice self-mutilation, I do it and I do it well. I make sure none of the blood go anywhere. I make sure the blood don't go anywhere. I still practice self-mutilation. And other women on this YouTube app, you all know what I do. I don't hide it. Why I need to hide what I do, who I do, where I go? I don't need to hide nothing. Now, shout out to the chat. It is what it is. 914 Western County, New York. We are in the house. We are in the house. I want to thank all my moderators that come into the chat. At least you're doing your job. You're vanquishing the trolls in my chat. Shout out to you. But it's not your responsibility to vanquish the people that's in my life. It's not your job. The women on YouTube is separate from the women in my real life. The women in my real life, everyday life. Some are living, some are dead. Shout out to the chat. My grandmother is the sister of Pamela. Pamela is the grandmother of CL Smooth. See, when I was growing up in certain places in New York, I knew who was who, but I didn't know how I knew. So when Madonna came onto the scene, I started playing all Madonna music, all her music. Live to Tell, Like a Prayer, Ray of Light. That's what I played. But when I was younger, the only music I had at that time was Like a Prayer and Live to Tell. Live to Tell is a spell. Is a spell. All the songs from in the music industry are spells. What's going on in Hollywood? There are subliminal messages. What's going on now? Your homegirl, Arabia Barbosa, getting ready to go out in the next hour. I don't know if I'm going to come back to this house. But you know what? Whatever happens to me, be just fine. Just fine. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. It is what it is. Shout out to my YouTube creators, my subscribers, my moderators, my support team, my chat members, those that write in my comment section, and shout out to the ghost watchers. Because I got one big ghost watcher. She likes to watch everything I do. She likes to watch everything I fucking do. Watch on. Watch on. And get caught up in the matrix. Get caught up in the web. You can't get out of. and you will never be released. That's why you keep me in the algorithm. That's why you talk shit about me. That's why you do videos about me. I know who's my enemies, and it's not the people on YouTube. It's not the people on my job. I told it years ago. Your biggest rivals, your biggest enemy will appear. They will come to your house. They will go to your bedroom. They will be in your bed sheets. Trust me. They're eating your food. They're using your bathroom facilities. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. A shout out to the chat. I may drink beer. I may drink vodka. I may drink wine. I might smoke cigarettes for the rest of my life. But at least I now know who the fuck I am. And that's why I kept saying, I am the BT 1000. I was not born, I was created at a generation curses. Generational curses. That is how I became the B. I am Lucy the vampire. That means I go and wake up in the night and eat my food or whatever, drink my water, whatever I want to do. I am the Jeepers Creeper on this shit. That means whoever comes into my life, out of if you have something of value in your spirit, in your heart, in your mind, I will consume that. It becomes a part of me. The German Shepherd in the room is the shepherd. It keeps everything in check because if it doesn't keep anything in check, I will automatically fall out and die. That is who the German Shepherd is. The German Shepherd is loyal. The German Shepherd is territorial. When I go out into the world and I see crows or blackbirds or pigeons in certain areas, I know who they are. They call me by my name. When I visit in those areas that they are in, they call me by my name. Arabia. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah. Allah, Arabia. It is what it is. Shout out to the chat.